everyone, welcome back. Brian here again with Anita Goodesign. And if you're watching this video and haven't watched the introduction video to Mylar, please click on the link below. Watch that one first. If you are watching this and you've already watched the introductory video that I did on Mylar Appliqué, I'm going to be giving you a couple more tips and tricks on it. So if you're watching this far, then that means you kind of are very interested in Mylar. And here's a few other things I want you to know before you actually get into it. If you've never done Mylar before, the first thing that we're going to discuss is the actual Mylar itself. Now, I mentioned this is a sheet of Mylar. I had mentioned you might be familiar with Mylar from like party balloons, for instance, that you've gotten in the past. It's the same type of material. However, there is different types of Mylar in terms of what you can purchase to use for applique in quilting and embroidery. So you can check with your local dealer, see if they sell any. There's Mylar online as well, but you want to make sure, because the most popular question is it washable? There is Mylar that is more washable than normal Mylar, but you need to kind of do your own due diligence on that and research the material you're buying. So I wanted to bring that to your attention, is to make sure that if you are concerned about washability, to check out the different types that are out there, find the ones that are washable, read reviews, anything like that, or again, check with your dealer. They may already have it in stock. They may have the washable kind, so that's where you're going to want to purchase that. You can use kind that is non-washable, that's fine. I just wanted to make you aware that not all Mylar is going to hold up well when you go to wash it. So if that's a concern of yours, first thing I would check on. The second is, in the introductory video, we mentioned that we have special digitizing, essentially that fill stitch that goes on top of the Mylar to hold it in place. Because it's a non-woven material, you know, it tears pretty easily, and it's a solid material, so it can perforate under the needle holes, because those needle holes for the satin stitch are pretty much side by side. So you get enough of those, and you're basically cutting straight through it. There's nothing woven for it to sew through, so you basically can just perforate the Mylar and it'll fall out. That's why the fill stitch on top that we do in a very wide density is important and critical to actually holding the Mylar down. So it's important to note that we do digitize for Mylar applique. Don't just use Mylar for any type of applique. It can fall out, and usually does. That fill stitch is really going to not only add to it, but help hold it down. Now when it comes to the type of threads on the fill stitch, this example right here is just a 60-40 poly, not 60-40 poly, I'm sorry, a poly sheen thread rather, that we used that is pretty close to the color of the Mylar itself. You can use poly sheen thread if you like. I personally like using metallic threads. The reason I like using metallic threads on top and for the satin stitch finish is because metallic threads are typically a Mylar based thread. So in using that for the top of it and for the finished satin stitch, you can really help blend in the colors even better and add to the aesthetic effect of the shine that you get from the Mylar. Some of you don't like using metallic threads because you get the thread break. So here's your next tip. If you're on an older machine that doesn't have all the fancy new calibrations to use metallic thread and feed it through properly, the big issue with metallic thread versus standard like poly, rayon, cotton, is that if I take a poly thread and I take the actual thread itself off, I mean, it just falls straight down. It doesn't actually maintain the shape of the spool, which is something any of you can see. I'm not going to try to show it on camera because it's so small, but any of you can see by just playing with it at home, it does not maintain the shape of the spool. So what's the point of that? Well, Mylar-based thread, like metallic threads, when it comes off, it's still slightly coiled. And if you have that right on your machine, that coil doesn't have time to straighten itself out. It twists once it gets pulled through the machine, gets caught, and breaks. And that's the vast majority of thread breaks when it comes to Mylar-based threads or metallic threads in general. Likewise, it's a different type of weight. It's actually a flat thread, not kind of round or cylindrical like you see most threads that are woven are. So with that, we like to use an 80-12 metallic needle. That helps it feed through the eye hole as well. The metallic threads themselves, I like to actually take them and set them 3 to 6 feet away from the actual machine so that the weight of the line has time to straighten itself out. Now you can use a cast iron thread stand if you like. You can make your own contraption. I like using the cast iron metallic thread stands. We use Mylar machines that are not calibrated for metallic threads. We run them at full speed using the thread stands because just the length of that line going to the machine really gives it time to straighten out. It feeds in properly. The 80-12 metallic needle helps the thread feed through the actual eye of the needle as well, resulting in far less thread breaks, far less frustration, and it really helps to add to the aesthetic look of the Mylar itself. So again, you can use any color you want. They used in the previous video I did with the introduction, they just used standard polysheen thread. You can use the metallic thread. I'd like to see what you do with it. So now that you've watched the introductory video, you were more interested, you came and watched the tips and tricks. Go get some of our Mylar collections today, stitch them out, tag us on Facebook, social media, and we'd love to see what you do with it. So thank you for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe, if you would, to our YouTube channel at Anita Goodesign to catch us for more. And you can also click the alerts button. So anytime we actually post anything, you'll get the alert and you'll be able to watch it right away. So thanks again for tuning in. This is Brian with Anita Goodesign, and we'll see you next time.